First, the president needs to tell us, related to the Iranian negotiations, what his plan for Iran is. If his goal is to sign an agreement to stem nuclear breakout, that's one thing. If his goal is to attempt to form a cooperative relationship with Iran, which many suspect, but he has not admitted, we need to know that as well. Because right now, the evidence is from Yemen, from Tikrit in Iraq, and from Syria, that Iran is on the move, challenging our friends and allies throughout the region. And this is contributing to this sense of chaos.
It is indeed. Joining us now is Dr. Andrew Bostom, our friend, professor of medicine at Brown University, and the author of Iran's Final Solution for Israel. And doctor, it gets crazier and crazier. Any day now I expect to hear that we've reached a deal, and I expect the mantra to change from no deal is better than a bad deal to we took the best deal we could get. And you say in a piece that you wrote that even regime change, quote unquote, in Iran won't solve the Iranian nuclear problem. Why not?
Absolutely not. Well, first of all, I'd just like to bring you up to date to what's not going to be in the agreement. This is like a series of Soviet-era niets. So apparently Iran has rejected the removal of its enriched uranium, a gradual lifting of the sanctions. It has to be lifted quickly. Rejects intrusive inspections and snap inspections, any halt to its research and development activity, any change to the nature of its heavy water reactor in Arak, any closure of its secret enrichment site at Fordo. As a matter of fact, they're going to get 600 centrifuges to keep there. Rejects any restrictions to its nuclear activity following the agreement's expiration, the whole sunsetting at 10 years. Rejects the inclusion of its long-range missile program in the negotiations, which that's been long-standing. Rejects reporting on its previous clandestine military nuclear activity. Rejects allowing inspections of military sites suspected of conducting nuclear activity. Other than that, Steve, it's a great deal.
And the latest one, I believe, maybe you mentioned it as you rattled them off, was they were supposed to ship a bunch of things out of the country.
No, that was number one.
Oh, number one. Okay.
So these were all the potentially constructive aspects of the agreement that they've rejected. But getting back to my larger point, which is why, very reluctantly, of course, I think there's only a military option to this, and that's really going to be a near-term solution. Although historically, sometimes that works out to be a long-term solution. Look, the idea that you're hearing, and frankly, a lot of this comes from the right, is that the regime change is the answer. Well, I've been examining who the leaders of this, alleged regime change would be. The spiritual inspiration. And we're talking now about the Green Movement. And I'm sorry to be too hypercritical about this, but if you remember the cult classic, I've grown to call it the Soylent Green Movement, because the eternal spiritual inspiration is Ayatollah Montazeri. We've been through this before. Steve even once showed an illustration. He shares the worldview of jihadism and anti-Westernism and Jew and infidel hatred, infidels being unclean. The political leader, he passed away. The political leader is still alive. That's Mousavi. He shares that worldview. You add to these facts that polling data tell us that 83% of Iranians still want the Sharia to remain the law of the land. 63% wanted nukes at the very height of the economic sanctions, when they actually had some teeth. And this goes back to the beginning of 2013. And you have to ask yourself, what in that environment, in that leadership environment, in that population environment, what's going to change the trajectory by regime change? And I think the answer has to be nothing that we can be certain about. So in light of this evidence, which I elaborate in that piece, I've come to the conclusion that this is a not really a viable option, and that the only option to guarantee prevention that this program won't be implemented is to destroy infrastructure.
Right, absolutely. And again, I think it's very important that we constantly remind the people who are viewing this that this is not the Soviet Union. This is not a country where you could rely on the deterrent of mutually assured destruction, where they don't want to get destroyed, so they're not going to fire at us or at Israel or whatever, and we don't want to be destroyed. So their mullahs, their ayatollahs' religious prophecy is they do want to be destroyed. They want the world to be set on fire, and then they believe they'll all go to heaven and everybody else will be killed.
Well, but also, Steve, I think we have to be sober about the fact that, look, there is a secular movement in Iran. Unfortunately, it's not nearly of the magnitude that some have played it out to be.
Which takes us, Andrew, which takes us back to your piece. And I thank you, Why Regime Change Won't Solve the Iran Nuclear Weapons Problem. Thank you, Doctor. Always good to talk to you. All right, folks, due to popular demand, we'll be bringing back the viewer call-in segment here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So if you love the show or you want to give us a content suggestion or just want to weigh in on the news of the day, here's your chance. Email us, but you got to do it now. You email us, and then we'll get in touch with you. It's callsteve@newsmax.com. That's callsteve@newsmax.com. Be sure to include your topic, your name, your phone number, and a location. We'll get back in touch with you. Call Steve at newsmax.com. Don't go away.